and people really can't tell what's real and what isn't real right in front of them. When the lines get blurred so much that you're practically in your own hardware-based trip. Is this a beautiful thing, or is it a terrifying thing?
Hey guys, it's Matt. This video has only been out about 5 days. It's pushing about 600,000 views. It's already been sent to me a few times, and it's definitely worth covering. The next level VR headsets. I didn't know that they had evolved to this degree. Of course, the magenta color, we're going to bring that back into it because it's in our face. It seems to be associated with the next phase of technology, or AI, the magenta color. It's all over the place. So I'm going to show, if you're at work, I'm going to show just some small clips of this video so you can get a sense as to what's going on. But it's more important to hear what he's saying than to see anything if you're at work. And then after this, I'm just going to talk over some still images.
Before you know it, VR and mixed reality and eventually augmented reality will just be one technology even better than this is, and it'll be in everyone's hands. And it's all happening so much faster than I anticipated. Every time we feel like the industry has settled, a company like Vario is going to come through around the corner and push the envelope even further, just blurring those lines between virtual and reality until maybe there is no line.
Okay guys, this channel, I've never heard of it before, Thrill Seeker. He's been on VR headsets, I don't know, thousands of hours. And even this guy is blown away. He didn't know what they're capable of doing. He goes to the corporate headquarters of this, it's in Finland, Vario in Finland. And he experiences things he'd never experienced before, including phantom sense, when they put the completely virtual human standing right in front of him. He can touch the human, and his brain actually senses the touch when there is nothing in front of him. The company in their headquarters put two simulated humans. I don't know what to call them. I've never had a discussion or made a video about this topic. I'm not used to the verbiage. But they put these two in front of him, and when he reached out, he didn't feel the exact threads of the sweater or wool, but he felt something. It's called phantom sense. And, this is the first step as the brain, lives for thousands and thousands of hours inside the virtual environment. People believe it will start to interpret the virtual environment not much different than the real environment. So the virtual sense of touch will become more pronounced as people spend more and more time in the virtual environment. And what makes this headset so special, it seems to be from this guy's perspective, it's the combination of virtual reality with augmented reality. So let me just explain what I learned about that this morning. There's virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed. Mixed is a mix of augmented and virtual. Okay, the easiest one to understand is virtual. That requires the headset, the Mark Zuckerberg headset. You put the headset on, and you're in a completely fake world. You could be in the middle of a World of Warcraft game. You could be transported to the Grand Canyon. Everything around you is completely fake in the headset. Okay, that's virtual reality. Think completely fake and requires the big, ugly headset. Okay, augmented reality is, say, an app on your phone, where I don't have a smartphone, but you can wave your iPhone in front of the Empire State Building, and it'll project digital information on top of the real world, but as you're looking through it through a screen, so your phone will show you it's the Empire State Building as you pass your phone in front of it. Your phone is showing you the same image that you're seeing with your real eyes. Pokemon Go game. You walk around a corner with your iPad, and on your iPad is the street that you're walking on, and the same car is in front of you shown on your iPad, but the iPad is projecting a virtual Pokemon Go character. The initial idea for Google Glasses, projecting digital information as you look around, projecting the digital information or even characters on top of the real world, your eyes see, but using a computer screen or interface. That's augmented reality. What this guy's so impressed with is the mixing of it. The hardest thing to do is the mixing of it. Okay, you put a virtual headset on for virtual reality. Of course, in a few years, I mean, they can fake anything. You can be in the middle of the Sistine Chapel, but it's all fake. You're not really there. What's so impressive, where it's ahead of its time, or what this guy's so freaked out about, is the mixed. So he could be in the little employee lounge of the corporate office here, and there's a refrigerator and a table. So the headset, he can still see the real refrigerator and the table, but it's also projecting in the fake characters. There might be another table or a painting on the wall that doesn't really exist. It's a complete blending of the virtual and the real world. So in the movie Ready Player One, which is less sophisticated than what this guy is talking about with the new headsets, which augment or mix, the Ready Player One was complete VR. This fantasy world of the Oasis did not exist. The dance floor, if they wanted to have a virtual date and go on this dance floor, none of it existed. Of course, they're just on a treadmill at home, and she's at home in Beijing and you're at home in New York, and it's just everything is fake. What this guy is saying is the next level, is what's being done, is the mixing. It's bringing the augmented into the virtual via a mix. So right now, you still need the headset to project the virtual images, but you're in a room, and okay, that couch, you remember that couch was there when you walked into the room without the headset on, but there's a chair. Is that chair part of the virtual being projected, or is that the chair really in the room? Then the guy walks in. Well, you met the guy coming in earlier this morning. He's the CEO of the company. Okay, he looks real, so he's real. And they can't, at this point, according to what they're saying, they can't project a, quote, human, their word, not ours, that looks completely real yet. It still looks like a cartoon character. So it's easy to tell the difference there. But, the way things are going, a year or two or three or four, he's basically blown away because he sees very, very quickly even the mixing of the augmented and the virtual is going to be indistinguishable very, very soon. It's scary horse shit. The concept or the character of the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager would be the highest level of augmented reality, because there are these hollow projectors on the ship that he appears in front of you in real life, but he's a hologram projection. This would be the highest level of augmented reality, of which they're probably about 2 weeks away from this. Not quite, but they did project Elvis. They projected like Elvis in concert or something, that and Tupac. What an interesting choice on the opposite ends of the map. They wouldn't be opposite ends of the spectrum. They're brothers from another mother. Tupac did a concert like 14 years ago as a hologram. So this shit that this guy's covering is the shit at this Finland company. Who knows what DARPA has and these other creeps. Okay, the last term to recap one more time is this concept of phantom sense. And somebody's like calling out, this really is like an Amish classroom today. Terms, terminology, difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. Is there going to be a test? There's no test. There's no written test here in the AM classroom. It's a life test. See, class, it's very simple. To avoid the mark of the beast, we have to understand how it's applying. And it's not mark, that's singular, class, it's plural. We have to understand the 1,000 ways the not-nilk system applies its marks. The truth community should never ever again say mark of the beast. That implies one mark. We've now witnessed thousands of ways it tries to apply its proverbial mark. And here's another way. Through the virtual Mark Zuckerberg headsets. So phantom sense, one last time. People have said, well, the guy in the video, he said he reached out for the human standing in front of him. He couldn't feel the sweater, but he felt something. The brain is almost taking the virtual reality headset on because the guy spent thousands of hours in it. The brain's taking it on as a sixth sense. Maybe to replace our own sixth sense, our own inner tuning fork, and maybe the concept of the human being. My buddy Thor is going to work on a replacement term for human being, what we really should be calling ourselves. But maybe in this, the spiritual combined with soul and the avatar and the body, maybe as in general, all the capacity we have is 6 senses. Our senses like sight and vision and touch, but then we have a 6th sense, or the inner knowing, inner tuning fork, gut feeling, intuition, the 6th sense. So if the virtual world and your damn phantom senses that come through the virtual world, that might stamp out. If we only have the capacity to have 6, that could replace your inner knowing or your gut feeling. Who knows what creepy plans and plots they're up to with this shit. But the phantom sense is, by the way, I'm looking at this is like Phantom Menace. I'll come back to that in a second. The guy, can reach out, and the brain gets so used to the signaling or I don't even know how to talk about this stuff. It's just all new to me. The stimuli coming through the virtual becomes accepted by the brain over time as real. So, if you're in a field in a virtual environment and it becomes completely indistinguishable from reality from your eyes perspective when the VR glasses get better and the grass is, rustling around. And I just read this example somewhere. Or the ocean is washing up and, you can almost start to smell it even though you're not by the ocean. This is the fooling of the brain via this term phantom sense. And somebody's throwing rubber duckies or calling out, Matt, that could be exactly how our own reality works. It's just this new technology just mimicking our own reality. Everything around us is a phantom sense. Look, I don't know if you can hear that, but I just touched the table. Well, the table's supposed to be 99.9999% air and atoms. If you were the size of the atom, the next atom over would be like hundreds of millions of miles away, and it's all empty space, but you bang your hand on the table. But this reality is done to our brain. It seems like this virtual shit, it's just mimicking the world that exists. Phantom sense, if you wear your VR headset enough, becomes real sense. Half the time I'm doing that segment, like I mentioned, I'm looking at the word phantom sense, and it looks like Phantom Menace to me. I think it's only 3 letters off. Phantom Menace. And I wouldn't even have continued with this theme, except I always will look up the date, and May 19, if you're at work, release of the Phantom Menace, May 191999. Really? 191999. Matt, what do you suggest? That's a coincidence. Oh, sure it is. Is the Phantom what Phantom? There's no Phantom in the Phantom Menace, episode 1 of Star Wars. What Phantom? There's a Sith Lord. There's no Phantom. So, am I relating this to Phantom Sense? And look, I can't. I'm just saying it popped into my head, and the date was strange. So let's move on.
We've just got a very interesting future ahead of us. I kind of just hope we're ready for it. Because if you think about how society has changed pre-phone or pre-social media to now, I think we're on a weird paradigm shift that will sort of change a lot of things. It's just a very interesting time to be alive.
Oh no, the magenta keeps popping up in our face over and over again related to themes and discussion topics and videos that have to do with moving a human into a digital environment via augmented reality and virtual worlds. And then I'll show you a movie trailer about another type of AI that's popping up into our reality, like that demon coming through Carol Ann's closet. More magenta in our face all the time. And guys, I'll play a segment of that again. But why does the piano turn somber and dark and gloomy at the end? And he says, oh, I forget exactly what he says. But are humans ready for this? Oh, there's a new paradigm coming. And he sounds a little concerned. He's like, things are going to change. Are we ready? And the piano's like, playing like it's a funeral pyre or whatever. So I'll play that for you again. What's up with that dark ending?
We've just got a very interesting future ahead of us. I kind of just hope we're ready for it. Because if you think about how society has changed,
it is so strange, and it is a little disturbing because this guy is not in our community. He doesn't see one thing that we see. He doesn't believe one thing that we believe. I'm sure he'd think we're absolutely crazy. I'm sure he believes that guy dragged his dialysis up and down the mountain. And he believes every bit of the bullcrap. And he's so excited about all of this through most of the videos, saying he has thousands of hours on VR headsets. Why does he turn the end of the video, that somber, quiet funeral procession piano? He's almost like he's just dabbling one little foot into some of the things that we see. Things are going to change. Are we ready for it? It's scary, folks. If even a complete zombie of the Matrix kind of deep down senses or sees some of the things we see, that's not good. Okay, it is not good. And I guess in some sense it is, because Matt, if he's ending like on this tone, maybe there is a chance that this guy, no, there's no chance for somebody that wears a virtual headset thousands of hours can wake up. Let's just take that off the table. Now, if we combine the topics we're talking about here with the image I'm showing now, a revisit of one of Greg's fantasy women from the AI art generation program Stable Diffusion, we combine all the elements, we have an uh-oh moment. It is kind of around Halloween and candy, and you dropped your peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you dropped your chocolate in my peanut butter. Oh, they taste great together. Who cares who dropped what in what, man? It's as good. Good is good. Here's the problem. You put your chocolate in my peanut butter, your peanut butter in my chocolate. You combine phantom sense, VR headsets, augmented reality with Greg's fantasy women on generated by, and then you get your fantasy women on Stable Diffusion. You put that in your headset, and the phantom sense is no more. It's not phantom anymore. It's real, and you never leave the house again. In the video a few back where I first showed this Halloween woman that Greg generated on Stable Diffusion, I'm pretty sure there was a comment, something like, Matt, there's no problem with there's no extra hand. It's just her other hand is coming up. Like, what? Well, I don't know what circus you and your family were in. Were you like those pretzel people, could pretzel up into a little box, just climb into a little box, put the whole family into a little box, 1/10 the size of a Volkswagen? Nobody's hand can just, and it's not even a hand. Even if the other arm could come up like that, it's not a hand. It's some 3-fingered thing. And even the other hand doesn't have all its fingers. That is, Greg says it does this shit a lot. It looks in every way like a regular human, but then there's just something a little off to augment its reality. Also in the description, I'll leave a link to this movie coming out in January called Megan, but it's M3GAN. They don't use an E. It's also highly associated with the Magenta color. The Magenta color now wants to attach to AI robotics, where this little girl gets the perfect plaything friend toy, and it's just Megan. And first, of course, she's so friendly, and it's pretty impressive how they do this. I don't know. This movie does not seem like it's going to be real low budget. It very quickly turns into a horror story, of course, where the little AI toy gets out of control and starts harming people, apparently. It could be well done, and it looks like it has potential. But I wonder why. I don't know. I wonder why they're going there in terms of scaring people away from this sort of AI, where the doll comes across as really, really creepy. This is going to come someday, right? I mean, there will be an AI interface toy that walks and talks that's given to kids. And the very first movie that puts the real high level of special effects onto it is intended to scare the crap out of people. And I don't know if they obviously, if anybody listening to this would say, is this coming? Do they want artificial intelligence and fake toys walking around and fake people? Of course they do. You would think. Then why do they want to scare the hell out of people with its first introduction in a movie? There have been, like, the kid that played The Sixth Sense, he was that little AI, but maybe I forget that movie. Maybe he went crazy at the end too, but I remember him being very loved by his fake parent. I forget how it ended. This turns into a horror movie very quickly, according to the trailer. And maybe somebody's saying, I can almost hear you out there rewarming your bathtub, saying, Matt, it doesn't matter. So they're going to put a movie out that's scary about this concept, and that's going to it's going to hinder the adoption of this sort of thing. Yeah, it might hinder it for a week or two. People won't care about a movie. In fact, the movie might be used to gain more interest in it, and people will ultimately say how cool it is versus how scary it is. So who knows? Who knows? That's all possible. I heard you as you're rewarming your bathtub. I can hear you in real time, and I haven't even posted the video yet. Got a whole line of rubber duckies floating around in front of you waiting to throw them. There's a scene in the trailer like this where Megan is saying something at the dinner table, telling the kid something about eating vegetables that the mother doesn't want the kid to know. And the mother's like, Megan, shut off. I guess that voice command earlier in the movie, Megan just then slumps forward and shuts off. This time she doesn't shut off. Megan, shut off. No, I was talking. It's like, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what else Greg has been working on. Oh, no. Greg, no. Monica, he's put Monica Bellucci, who from The Matrix and also from Twin Peaks and other things, but a hero in the truth community for a few different reasons, especially the famous line in Twin Peaks we'll look at in a second. He's put her in a Halloween outfit, and that is a pasty. But it's a pasty. It's not what you think. But Greg, come on, Greg. Come on, sir. Either go the whole way and get your VR glasses or stop with this. Stop it, sir. This is the scene where the famous line was delivered in the Twin Peaks remake. Monica Bellucci shows up and David Lynch is there. And we are like the dreamer who dreams, who then lives inside the dream. But who is the dreamer? It's overrated. I mean, I'm not going to... It gets you thinking. It's not bad, but it's overrated. Everything Twin Peaks is overrated. It's a nonsense to me. I've tried to watch it 3 times. I cannot... I just don't get it. Some people, they get it. I just don't get it. But we are like the dreamer who dreams, who lives inside the dream. Ooh, but who is the dreamer? It's, to me, there are different to me that's a higher self, spiritual part of you that's not here interpretation. Puts a piece of itself, which is you, into the dream, into this, which is broken down into a ridiculous nonsense land, Munchkin land, Wizard of Oz place, and we are an element of the spiritual self that's not here. But who is the dreamer? The dreamer's you, and probably somewhere else. Not in a pod. No, not in a Matrix pod. Somewhere out of here. I don't believe the whole of us are trapped here. Maybe if we're trapped, maybe the little piece is. The little piece, Tony would say, has to work with higher self to get out. Not that it's necessarily a trap, but certain things need to be accomplished here. But the whole of you, that's where they kind of hijack it in the 9th inning. They'll hijack a segment of the truth community, as the creeps always do, and they want you to believe the whole of you is trapped here. And I don't buy that for a second. Even if the little part that I know of is me, maybe is, or I have things to do to get out. They want you to believe the whole of you is trapped. That could potentially... you potentially get what you really believe in. I do believe that. So every time in Megan, the trailer Megan, there is text, it comes up with the magenta. The magenta, which is the magenta agenda. You could say magenta, or just use one word, magenta. Say that 3 times fast. But it's 100% hardcore magenta. And I say that because there's kind of a wide range of what's considered magenta. Even strays into a little bit more purplish. It strays into pink, still considered fuchsia or magenta. Like, what's the difference between those words? It's all confused by design. It just is. But this is, if you could pick one, I was going to say classic magenta, but that's an oxymoron, or you can't use those terms together. There is no classic magenta. It doesn't even appear It doesn't even have a wavelength. It's not even on a normal color spectrum. It's that alien color. What is it from with Nick Cage? The color from outer space. That horrible Nick Cage. Matt, everything he's done is horrible except Moonstruck. True. It's classic Magenta, and it's associating itself. Let me pause it. I guess it's time to. I don't know if I'm going to go much farther with the Magenta. I kind of have my own interpretation of what it is. I don't think we'll ever know exactly, but I guess let me just do the. I'll give the 5 minutes. Now, Steffers could come along and write this big thing up that could change my opinion, or she would if she does this. It'll provide a lot more detail. But I'll just give you my take on what I think this Magenta is all about. All right, let's start with the absolute basics. Although I've been focused on it, I've mentioned this before, I'm factoring in that I'm focusing on it, and I will notice magenta whenever it pops up. Therefore, it will seem like it pops up a lot more than it does. I'm discounting that or taking that into consideration. Taking that into consideration, still my conclusion is there is no doubt, even though I'm looking for it, the magenta is up 100-fold or 1,000-fold. It is all over the place, all the time, way beyond just T-Mobile. So I am convinced that its presentation is way more than it was 5 or 10 or 15 years ago by a factor of nth degree, whatever it may be. Okay, most of us would agree that we see the magenta, and it's not just because Matt's been talking about it and we notice it. It's just in our face all the time. Okay, now the people that are making this presentation, you know how I think reality works. Are they all in on it? Are they getting a phone call? Make sure in your next commercial you use this color. Well, why? Tell them, I don't think reality works that way. Reality, it's saying something in a roundabout way using the magenta color. I think it relates to the next phase of this reality, or what the next phase that what they call human beings will go into, moving to the digital environments, more AI as part of everybody's lives, more tech, less human experience, less human imagination and creativity. This is the phase of where the world is that we're all going through. We're trying to reject it. We are, for the most part, many of us successfully rejecting most of it. That's why we are separating ourselves from the ship of fools, diving off the back, swimming to the bank. But we see what's going on with our cousins and our friends and our neighbors and the guy down the cul-de-sac. They're all going along with it. They're all, whatever mark of the beast is put out next week, they're happy to line up and get it. Whether it be a VR headset or whatever it may be, another punky booster, whatever it may be, the people around us line up and ask for more of it. And as reality kind of evolves, or some would say devolves into a certain way, I think there's symptoms of it that come out and show themselves into reality itself. If somebody isn't feeling good, there's the voice gets raspy, or there's symptoms. I think the magenta is simply a symptom of what the world is going into or devolving into. It's not plotted and planned by people in smoking rooms. It just comes up like a side effect. Now, it doesn't mean it can be both. I don't think when Bono, if anybody's throwing a rubber ducky over this, I hear you. Bono and The Edge in the Ukraine subway doing a little concert to call attention, where the whole brick and stone subway is highlighted in hardcore magenta all over the place. I don't think they just by random, those hardcore creeps at that level, I don't think at random they chose that color just because they just thought it looked good, and they weren't aware how reality was using them in choosing that color. I think that is plotted and planned. If Matt can maybe get a sense as to how this magenta is showing up in our reality more than it should, I think the creeps have a pretty good idea. Obviously, they have access to more than I do in terms of reality buttons and levers and things like that. So, I'm not saying it's all random. It's again, like usually when I make this presentation, many things are plotted and planned, but most of what we think is plotted and planned and called in is not. It's just people in the ship of fools, basically on the frequency or the download, doing what the reality would want, or putting forth, the symptom of what reality wants to put forth, like the Magenta. And if I don't know, these questions are coming to me too. I don't know the answers. Every time the Magenta is presented, what does the reality get out of that? I don't think it gets anything out of that. I don't think it finds, every time it can present the Magenta, I don't think it finds more power. I think it's like a symptom. It's just a symptom. Like, I don't know how to describe it. If you have something that you ever have those things in your hand, like they sell them at the $5 store, the $1 store, the stupid little things. You squeeze them, and you can't squeeze them. It just pops out the other side, like a balloon thing with like a jelly inside. You've seen them. It's like that. It's like the more, I don't know. It's like the more they impinge on us or infringe over here, or the more they take over here, like the magenta squirts out the other side or something. And in that sense, it's a marker, so we notice, and it's a good thing. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever have a good handle on this. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it is associated with chaos, with tech, with digital environments, with the destruction of normal and natural human things like imagination and creativity. I think it's even though it does, it appears in the Northern Lights. And is that a Mandela effect for some people? I wish I would have paid more attention to the Aurora Borealis and the Northern Lights. Always remember the green, the emerald green, which I think at the core, the emerald green is a very good thing. It's a very pure thing. I think they attempted to hijack. I'm not sure if the magenta was ever a pure thing. I don't get that sense at all, even though there's people that have come to me and said, Matt, I've done DMT trips and ayahuasca trips, and there's a very loving thing here that's pure love, of which you can't understand how incredible it feels when you commune with it, and it is pure magenta. There's been a few people that have told me that. Well, okay, I hear you. But from what I observe, the way the magenta comes through this reality, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I will, if I see it and it pops up in my face, I'll reject it. I'm not going to give affirmations all day long. Once I've done a few, it knows I'm rejecting it. Myself knows I'm rejecting it. So, that doesn't mean, if the Girl Scouts are selling Thin Mints and there's a little sliver of magenta on the box, I'm not going to buy a box. There's no reason to. Once we see something and we reject it, then buy the Thin Mints. It's not going to harm you. We have the power to protect ourselves with whatever armor. That's why they have to fool everybody. If the people couldn't protect themselves with their own armor, then they wouldn't have to fool everybody. That it's pretty simple in that regard. So, they love the term order out of chaos, and they present that term, I don't know where it pops up. It seems to pop up a lot on different crests, or I don't think it's ever going to be a literal interpretation of what that means. Order out of chaos, it's almost like what they do is they try to create more chaos first and foremost. Not the chaos comes up and they try to create order from it. I know somebody's throwing rubber ducky and saying Hegelian dialectic and all that same scripted stuff. I know it's not my first rodeo. Let's forget that for now. That's even a distraction. We've been misled regarding the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis and synthesis is not problem, reaction, solution. Even that's been adulterated inside the truth community, the original meaning of the Hegelian dialectic. But that's for another conversation. Order out of chaos. The chaos is created first. And the order, see, the chaos, and this is the magenta color goes along with this, create maximum chaos along a sliding scale. If you create the chaos too fast, it can get out of control, like an avalanche. Once it starts the avalanche process, there's no stopping it coming down the mountain. It will run over Fraulein Maria's convent in The Sound of Music. You can't stop you have to create the chaos, and then they control it. But when the dust settles, you're still in a reality that's one level down. You're still in a reality that has more chaos. It's just now, it's like the avalanche has been controlled And then you can create more chaos and move the avalanche another 100 feet down the mountain. But each time it moves, what settles out when the dust settles is more chaos, more reality breakdowns, more societies that don't make any sense. So you see, that's to me is my interpretation of order out of chaos. It's first and foremost create as much chaos as possible. That Magenta is associated with chaos, if you ask me. But it's then create enough order so society levels out, just like what happened after C. Oh, it's Biden says it's over, and they say it's over, and people start to come out of their holes, and it's over. Okay, level it out. Do 2001 job application. Oh my gosh! For 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, it was pretty. The world, and then what after that? After that, in the news, you had an anthrax scare in the news in 2001, and then oh no, then the stock market, and then okay, then create all the, then level it out. Then you have ridiculous stories like, the pause and the underwear, and the shoe blanker. That stuff. And it's like, then it levels out and people learn to live with the new level of society breakdown and absurdities and chaos. And it's ultimately, it just keeps pushing it down and down and down. And then maybe someday people accept the digital environment and say, I've had enough of this shit. The digital environment could be positioned or put forth as a savior of some kind. The things are, incremental. They are incredible masters at incremental change. That's why the people that say this huge changes are coming here and there, and they work too slowly, too patiently, in my opinion, over too long of a period of time. They are masters at incremental, and when it gets just a little bit, then they level it off and they stabilize it. And, we'll never get through this storm. We're out there on the ship of fools on the Pacific Princess. And then tell Christoph there in the control center for the Truman Show to take the waves down to zero and level out the ocean and make it a nice day. And then people come back out of their caves and say, okay, I can live with this new society that's leveled out, but it is a step lower than it was. And there is naturally more chaos in it, but it seems good. The new level seems good compared to what it was a year or two before, but it's not good compared to what reality was 5 years before or 10 years before. And in some way, the Magenta is associated with this, and it's associated with moving towards constant robotics, cybernetics, AI, artificial realities, augmented realities, VR headsets, all that. And, to me, it's a side effect. It just shows up in reality. If you squeeze hard over here, then it's going to pop. It's zero sum. It's yin yang. It'll pop up over there. Sometimes it's planned. I don't think it's planned most of the time. I think the more Magenta we see, the worse your society is getting. The more we're moving towards the digital, and it's not good. Okay, I'm not in any way convinced this Magenta is in any way a good thing. Even the confusion about the whole color wheel now is just inexplicable to me. It makes no sense. In the old days, it was red, blue, and yellow, primary colors. You create the secondaries like green or whatever. And then had somebody coming to me saying that no, Matt, green is actually a primary, not the yellow, and all this confusion. And then the inkjets, they do the, what is it? They use the inverted colors first. They use the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow, which is what is it called? Negative colors to create the. It's just, and there's a video on it that people have sent me a few times, and I want to actually present this in a video where she's not in the truth community. She's coming out saying how confusing it is, how what people thought were the primary colors is not, and this is a symptom of a reality breaking down. And it is, we live in a gigantic Mandela effect. This was not the case in 1975. The primary colors were simple to understand. It's all confused now. And it's kind of like a symptom of where reality is going, where everything that we thought was stable in this new environment needs to be confused or is confused, whether the creeps have their sticky fingers into it or not. So I guess, guys, that was a long rant, but at the end there. But anyway, they're definitely going to do that color wheel video soon. But like I say, no real world could do this. No real world could just eliminate everything we know about the primary colors, which was absolutely as simple as 1, 2, 3 in third grade. Now it's all confused. Again, it's a symptom of a reality that's going towards chaos. And the magenta is a symptom of it. All right. Thanks for listening.